I still regret that night. It's one of those moments I wish I could erase, but it's also the lesson I carry with me every single day. It started like any other evening. My mom had called me earlier, asking me to come over for dinner. It wasn't anything special, just a regular family meal, something she'd always insisted on. But I was busy. I had this huge presentation to finish for work. A project that, if I nailed it, could set me up for a big promotion. I told myself, just one more hour, and then I'd head over. By the time I looked at the clock, it was past 9 p.m. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Dinner's getting cold. We'll save you a plate, but it won't be the same without you." I read it, felt a pang of guilt, but then I convinced myself that work had to come first. I'd make it up to her tomorrow. She called again, but I ignored it. I told myself I'd call her back once I finished this slide in the PowerPoint. Just one more thing, I thought. But when I finally finished at midnight, it felt like I had checked off everything on my list. I was too late to go to her, too late to even call. I told myself I'd make it up to her later. I went to bed that night, feeling tired but oddly detached. I hadn't been able to shake the feeling that something was off, but I ignored it, thinking it wasn't a big deal. The next morning, I woke up to a message from my dad. "Call me when you wake up, it's about Mom." My heart sank. I could feel the dread building up as I called him back. He picked up quickly, his voice shaky. "Son, your mom had a stroke. We're at the hospital." I couldn't breathe. The world went still for a moment. How could this be happening? How could I have let something like this happen? I rushed to the hospital, my hands shaking on the wheel, trying to process what my dad had just told me. What if I had gone last night? What if I had answered her call? When I arrived, I found my dad sitting outside her room, looking exhausted and worn. "She's stable for now," he said, but it was clear how shaken he was. "We don't know the full extent yet." I went in to see her. She was lying in the bed, pale but awake, tubes and wires all over. The sight of her like that hit me harder than anything I've ever felt. I had spent the last few hours, the last few days, so caught up in a PowerPoint presentation, in some idea of success, that I hadn't made time for her. I hadn't shown up for my mom. She looked at me, a faint smile on her face. "I'm okay," she whispered, but I could see the sadness in her eyes. She didn't need to say anything more. I had let her down. I had chosen work over her. It took days for her to stabilize. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, but we weren't out of the woods yet. There were therapy sessions and long hours of waiting. I stayed by her side the whole time, but I couldn't shake the guilt. I kept thinking about how she had reached out to me, how she had been calling, texting, wanting to be with me, and I wasn't there. I had put everything else first, convinced myself it didn't matter. And then, one morning, she woke up. There was no big dramatic moment, no miracle. She just opened her eyes. Slowly but surely, she began to regain her strength. It wasn't easy, but she was there, and I was there too, doing my best to make up for the time I had missed. The whole experience shook me. It taught me something I'll never forget. No career, no project, no PowerPoint is ever worth sacrificing the people you love. Work can always wait. The people who love you won't always be there. It's funny how you think you have all the time in the world to make things right, but you don't. It wasn't until I almost lost her that I realized how much I had taken her for granted. My mom's recovery wasn't instant, and we both had a lot of work to do. But today, we're closer than we've ever been. I don't take time with her, or with anyone I love, for granted anymore, and I'll never make the same mistake again. If you're sitting at your desk right now, thinking you can put off the call, put off the visit, put off the family time until tomorrow, don't. Don't wait. Because sometimes, you don't get that tomorrow. I almost lost my chance to make things right. Don't let that happen to you.